Welcome to the Kawarthas Small Business Podcast, where we believe the Kawarthas can be the most thriving region in Canada for small businesses. So we created a podcast where we have $1 million conversations that help small business owners thrive. I'm Brian Rump from Profit Coach.
And I'm Matt Garrity of Matty G Digital.
We are recording from the Thrive Podcast Studio at Thrive Co-working Community in downtown Lindsay, Ontario at 18 Kent Street West. And our topic today is the 10 best strategic mistakes we've ever made. And we have probably way more than 10. But I have sort of two things for this conversation. One is a strategic mistake is something that maybe was a failure, but we've super learned from it. And now it's just a nice way to label it. It's like, oh, it was a strategic mistake. Now I know better. Now I've learned from it. And then the other thing is sometimes I don't think it's super unethical, but sometimes we, accidentally do something that maybe opens the door to something else. I'm thinking
legalities?
Not legalities. So I know, so this was a coach once. He was like, I'm going to try this thing out. And he, instead of sending out an invite to a webinar, he just sent a calendar invitation to 400 people on his list. And then an insane number were like, oh, sure, I'll go to that. So it was one of those I was playing around and how intentional was it? I think, again, we're not doing anything malicious. It's not like, oh, I accidentally sent you an invoice for 20 grand and you paid it. And then I'm like, haha, I got their money. Not that, but things where, maybe we make little mistakes here and there.
Like the time I said that Thrive was the home of Small Business Week in the Kawarthas.
Yeah, which I think you could fully say.
I was wondering if anyone would really care or want to get mad at me, and I was very careful with the wording of the copy. And I figured if they were really mad, they were going to tell me to take it down before they sued me. And no one even said anything. If anything, the city started promoting my posts. So.
Yeah, I think that's a good one to talk about. I think that's a good, it's a strategic mistake because sometimes we're not sure. And it's like, is it a licensed named right thing?
Yes.
Or is it another thing? And I think it's sort of Administrative Professionals Day. That's not a copyrighted thing.
Mm-hmm.
Small Business Week is sort of a week that's sort of a government thing, but it's not, I don't believe, from what I understand, it's not copyrighted. In the past, there's been flagship sponsors who have BDC used to, I don't know if they have, or
they still do.
There might be funding for someone to do it, but that's one where you're probably not getting a cease and desist letter from somebody who's saying, hey, I own this. This isn't you. They are probably just happy, oh, somebody's doing stuff on this week. We want that, right?
Yeah.
It's like Valentine's Day. No one really owns that, but you want multiple people to be doing things for it. So
yeah, it's like with Thrive too. We've taken some liberties and some verbiage that we've used. They're not even liberties, but the bridal show that we did, I was like, the largest bridal show in Kawartha Lakes, which I think is true.
Yeah, I think.
But I'm not 100% sure. I don't know how to call it. I think I was calling it the official bridal show of the Kawartha Lakes.
Yeah.
And I was like, what does that even mean?
And I think,
How does it make it official?
This is totally different than where I thought the conversation was going.
I've got a bunch for the record,
but I think it's a great example of you could do a little bit of due diligence, see if it's trademarked. The malicious part would be, well, I'm going to use it. And then if I get a letter, I'm going to change a word. That stuff's malicious. But sometimes we come up with these rules where nobody's saying what the official whatever is, usually unless they're paying for it. So if I want to say I'm the official non-alcoholic beverage of the 8th inning of the Blue Jays, that is someone has sponsored that. And if they find you advertising that, they will probably send you a letter because they've bought that right from the Blue Jays, which is a partnership.
Mm-hmm.
So like if we're like, hey, we are the official podcast for the Blue Jays.
Yes.
We are the official Kawarthas Small Business Podcast of the Blue Jays Rogers Baseball Partnership.
Yeah.
We'll see if their trolling bots find this and sue us. Right? We might have to pay for that.
Yeah. We can start saying that we are the official podcast of small businesses in Kawartha Lakes.
Yeah. Like we are, right?
We are.
But like sometimes it's like, oh, who has the right
Yeah.
to say that? And sometimes the right comes from people who establish it, trademark it, use it, and then they want to sell it, right? So, that's a thing that can happen as well. But the strategic mistake is like, sometimes it's like, well, don't worry about it. Like, if you're not sure if you can do something, try it, see what happens. I've watched people make mistakes all the time in business, and rarely is like people aren't coming and getting shut down right away. Usually if you do see like, someone getting shut down for like a health violation or something like that, they've had like 8 warnings or like there's a progression of thing. Like, so if we're not being malicious, we can make those little strategic mistakes.
Yeah. Do you want me to rhyme mine off? I don't know if I have 10.
Oh, well, let's hear about something.
Let's start with Thrive. Mistakes, I don't know if they're strategic, but like not 10 mistakes, but some mistakes I made with Thrive. I overpriced the offices at first. We got the wrong software. And I can't think of another one. Those are 2 big ones. I definitely overpriced the office.
I think, that's a different, maybe off podcast topic. I find with pricing, and this is the microeconomics teacher in me, sometimes it's like, if you haven't made enough people aware who are ready, willing, and able to buy, finding the right price is tough. So there's the like, maybe it was the wrong price to like capture attention of some people. I don't know that it's wrong. And I just don't know that enough people who are ready, willing, and able to make a purchase saw that. So if you're like 10 people like, hey, I'm in, and then you name a price and like, oh, actually, no. And then you drop it to the point where they are. This is like supply demand 101. Then there's that point where they buy it. That's, I think, a wrong price. But yeah,
I think, so what I did was I priced the office at like $1,500 a month because I thought I was smarter than everybody else. I thought that, honestly, maybe this is also my ego speaking. I think in 5, but less than 10 years from now, I'll have been right. And the co-working office prices will have caught up to reality, where I thought there's offices you can rent for like $500 a month, $700 a month. That doesn't put into account, though, the actual office itself. So if I was going to go rent 2,000 square feet downtown, Lindsay, or anywhere, it's going to cost me $3,000, right? So if you're coming in at an office that's turnkey, fully furnished, boardroom, kitchen that's stocked, bathroom that's cleaned, reception, all these things for $1,500, it's a massive bargain than it would be if you went out on your own.
Yeah.
So that's where I was thinking. So if like, okay, someone's going to come in and rent a space somewhere, they're going to be spending over $1,500. Why don't we do it that way? And I'm like, the co-working people have messed this pricing up, and I'm going to drive the cost up. Did not work. I think eventually that will catch up. But the other one was the software. We paid for software that was newer, and I thought it was a bit more like cool and trendy. But then once I got in there and it was all set up, it was the user experience was terrible. It was so bad. Nothing could be edited. I still have problems with our existing software from a user experience, but the old one was just a total nightmare. And I'm thankful that I was only like $400 in. software can be scary. It can be $10,000 a month. It could be $30,000 a month, depending on what it is. For me to get out at $400 after 1 month, and we realized quickly, I was like, we got to get out.
Yeah.
And the co-owner was like, well, we put this money into it. We put the 30 days. I'm like, this is going to get worse. Get out now.
That's a great strategic mistake to learn, the sunk cost fallacy, which is, you make your decisions based on the future, not what's in it. Mm-hmm. And I think it also is good because you recognize the importance of figuring out what it is you want, that those mistakes happen, the importance of looking at stuff maybe a little bit more next time. That's a great, again, strategic mistake, I think. And sometimes when you're not sure about a decision, sometimes a good mindset is well, let's see if this is a strategic mistake or not. Because the cost is relatively low. Mm-hmm. Sometimes I have lots of things I've burned, a few $100s on that have worked and some haven't worked. But that's the nature of being in business. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's you can't be afraid to make mistakes or failures. And that's why they're strategic.
Maybe this wasn't a mistake, but more of I thought this was going to work and it didn't, was with Starting Point and the autonomous sales. I thought people were going to go on, read the site, and recognize oh, I'm going to go ahead and purchase this. I've never sold anything without having a sales call with someone, right? So that, I guess, not a mistake, but something that, again, I thought was going to be one way, and it's not even close to reality.
Yeah, that's funny. I would call it could be a strategic mistake, and it's a test, right? Marketers test things. Yeah. So sometimes it's oh, do I need this? Can it be this way? Mm-hmm. It's funny because I remember, when you did that, my impression was always you probably needed a call, either a call or a conversation or some knowledge, but then you could just go buy it. I think what I learned is, people they want a reassurance, right? They're not going to go buy something like that. They might process it that way. And I thought it was more, okay, here's the best way to process it. Because then it's hey, go here, pay this versus, I'll do you up a quote and a proposal and that type of thing. So it makes it easier for you. If you're go push this button and buy that.
That's a really good point, actually. And that is maybe how we should be building Manage Digital in the future.
Yeah.
Where we're going to plug in your credit card for you. You've told me sales calls, I should just be hey, before you hang up, give me your credit card and I'm going to charge you. And I don't know if you're joking or not, but in my head I was
I'm not joking, because I watched someone do that once and I was this is a masterclass in
it kind of works.
Getting commitment.
Yeah, I don't mind it.
And it's not being afraid to charge for your services because you're a business and you're here to help people. And we want to go forward with them.
Yeah, I kind of like that idea a lot.
Yeah.
I think I'm not that curious of a person. I don't think I'm not the guy that goes down rabbit holes and I'm not trying to figure out how all these little pieces work. But I will often ask myself, why are we doing it this way?
Yeah.
And I'm also often why? Okay, these rules have been this way for so long. Why are they still this way? So I remember at an agency one time where we were billing they're always one-time projects. And those new projects, we bill 50% upfront and then 35% midway through and then another. And I was always why are we doing this? If cash flow is a concern, why are we not just billing for the whole project upfront? And it was well, this is what we do. Not what we do, not a criticism to them. It was, this is what the industry does. We bill this and then you do this and this. And I was let's just start billing more. And I took it upon myself when Managing Digital launched. I bill all my websites, boom, upfront. If you don't like it, there are certain circumstances, depending on the size of the website and my relationship with you, I might change that. If I don't really know you at all, and I'm not going to turn around and hey, whatever the price point is, I might not take it all from you right now. But to me, I'm always one that's why are we doing it this way? Is there a better way to do it? And that's where I think the pricing for the co-working spaces went, and that's where I think the autonomous sales with marketing went. Because I was Why are we always having these sales calls? Why can we not just sell stuff online like we sell shirts online?
Yeah.
And I don't think I've learned, because I don't know if I have I'm fine with risk, but I don't have the really resources at this point to just be spending more on like trying to get that to work, right? Like, okay, whatever, that didn't work. I'm not going to push it anymore. Could it work? Probably, but I'm not going down that path anymore.
Yeah, I think that's one where it probably could work, but you're convincing people to pay for inexpensive digital marketing because they haven't done digital marketing through a digital marketing thing that they're probably just not comfortable doing. Like they're not going to randomly find it and be like, oh, I'll just give this random person some money. But I do think that over time, people would, if they knew who you were, had seen examples of your work, and they're just like, yeah, you got to go talk to Matt and get a starting point website, they would go on and just buy it if it's clear that that's just what they need to do. But again, it's a good strategic mistake to at least have that conversation and think about it and then ask people. And then maybe it turns into like, hey, the stuff's on the website. You can easily click and process, but you just aren't expecting a lot of strangers to randomly show up.
Yeah. Well, I realized it was back in November when I won that award, of course.
Which was that again?
The Lindsay District Chamber of Commerce reigning business leader of the year from 2022.
I'm surprised you haven't mentioned it on this podcast.
I bring it up literally every time.
It's on your shirt.
Yeah.
The listeners at home can't see it.
But if you want to buy a shirt, go to my website and I will sign a shirt for you. I realized, though, from that, all kidding aside, like, people know me. They want to talk to me.
Yeah.
They don't want to go onto a website and buy marketing. They don't care about my business. They don't care, frankly, what I do tactically for them. They just know I'm the marketing guy and they trust me.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm going to do now.
Yeah. I think
I'm the guy that we've talked about ad nauseum at this point, probably, but like, they come to me, I need help. How can we solve it? And I help them solve it. And then we run them through whatever program is necessary. So.
Yeah, that's great. And it's realizing those things. That's sort of like I'm in the process of redoing my website, but mostly it's just to show more of me, because I realize, like a little straw poll, like almost everyone who pays me money regularly, some of them didn't even know I had a website.
Yeah.
They didn't care. One person felt embarrassed and they never looked at it. I'm like, that's actually good. Like, it's not there for you to explore and read everything on. It's there for you to like book a call with me. So that part worked.
Who had never seen your website?
Oh, there's almost everyone.
That's funny.
Like you kind of know some of the people I work with. Like,
I can think of one that I'm pretty sure has never seen your website. Probably. Anyway.
Actually, I don't know that anyone. You have maybe. Well, even then, you probably didn't look at it that close, even though
that one
did it. But like,
my guessing is the cabinet people looked at it.
No,
I'm pretty sure the plumber and the gym happened.
They definitely didn't.
That's hilarious.
And then definitely the one in or the few in the U.S. that we've worked with. None of them actually looked at it either.
Really?
Yeah.
So you just met them. How'd you meet them?
It's like mostly networking, and then I think it's me listening and seeing something in them. And then when you go to my website, I think there's like one picture. I was like a bit of like, like if you go to like the about, there'll be a picture.
The contact, isn't there? Yeah.
But there's not like, it should be like, now I'm like, it needs to be about just me and me as a guide, right?
Yeah.
That's like, it's not about the content. It's not about some of the other things. It's like, is this guy full of it? That's sort of like us. Like with the podcast. That's why we want people to listen to the podcast before they, maybe do business with us. Cause it's like, this is what these people sound like.
Yeah. These are real conversations that we're having.
But it just like, it puts perspective into like, where do you need to put your like marketing energy and dollars and like finding people. And for every business, it's different. And sometimes what you think happens isn't what happens. But unless you try it, you don't know those things. So that's why it's a strategic mistake.
And then the one that I can think of for Matty G Digital, the strategic mistake is the only one that I can think of immediately. I'm sure there's probably a lot more, of course, but the only regret that I have, no, now I can think of two. When I got into Who Not How, of like finding people that brought value to what they were doing and to free me up more time to do what I can do. I wish I had found more experts right away. I wish I had not worked with so many inexperienced people right away, frankly. And it's something I still love doing more than anything. I love talking to new marketers and I love like mentorship and everything. I don't really have the time for it. I feel guilty about that, but like I shouldn't because like I'm not a teacher. Right?
Yeah, it's not like I think as a skill set,
it's not something I'm even good at. I just love talking to people about marketing,
and it's easy to like people can show up for coffee. Monday mornings to talk to you. You're accessible. You're not shutting people out. But yeah,
true, absolutely. But I wish I'd hit the ground running with more experts. And we just had that conversation off air also. Like that's what this is about now too, and like growing my business of like I'm not interested in like finding someone that can like plug a hole or some hack. Like I can hack all day. Hack expert. I'm exceptional at it. I've always wanted to, this is so dumb. You're gonna laugh. I've always wanted to make a cookbook about random stuff that you find in your fridge and cupboard.
Yeah.
And you just open it up and you're like, this would work with this. And like on the weekend, I hacked together a nacho dip without any sour cream. I did like ranch and cream cheese and this other dip. And I had like leftover chicken wings from like 2 nights ago that I chopped up and I tossed those in sauce. It was so dumb. But anyway, like I think I'm the king of hacking stuff.
Yeah.
And like I can do that for marketing, and I've done that. And I think I've been very successful doing it, and we've done incredible work. There's nothing against the stuff that we've done, but I would now, the way I want things to be, and the way I want things to grow, I'm not interested in doing that. I need people that are like experts in their field, and I will hire them.
Yeah.
I'm not here to teach you how to do things. I'll explain to you, here's what I want. Here are my values. Here's my methodology. You do your thing your way. Try to keep it in line with my methodology.
Yeah.
But you need to be the pro at this. So, and I wish I'd done that right away. It's hard though. That's what everyone talks about. Like, okay, I don't want to hire somebody because it's going to cost money. So I hired people and I hacked it, and we were fine for it. But there's internal chaos that I would like to eliminate in the future, right?
Yeah, you're always going to be able to like have some things like that. You're never going to get it all perfect, but seeing them as strategic mistakes, being like, oh, not going to do this again, versus, oh, this is the only possible way I could ever do it.
But then also like the other mistake, the strategic mistake would be extremely similar to that. I wish I had found those people sooner. In general, like not just the pro, but like I wish I had been introduced to Who Not How on day one, and like day one, find that person.
Yeah.
That is a regret of mine. I think often like, man, if I had started, I guess
that's always like,
yeah,
everyone has those types of things. I have those. It's like, man, if I learned what I learned this morning, 20 years ago, my life would be different. But the point is what you do with that knowledge now going forward, and just continue to build something. So awesome. I think that's a good episode. We've talked about mistakes, different ways to do them. Use the word strategic mistakes, put a little positive spin on it. And I think it makes it more fun to talk about. And that's why you should hire, to be frank, either of us. We've made strategic mistakes. Some people pretend they've never made any mistakes ever. And that's not what you want. You want people who do these things, try stuff, learn, do something different. And they have a breadth of knowledge as to why they're recommending you do something a certain way, because they've watched it either work or they've watched other things not work for ages. Yeah. All right. Where do the people find you, and what do you want them to know about you?
I want them to remember that I am the Lindsay District Chamber of Commerce reigning Lindsay Business Leader of the Year. And if you would like me to sign a shirt for you, go to my website at managedigital.com and book a call with me.
That's awesome. I am the business coach that helps your business get money with grants, increase sales, and streamlining your business for revenue and profit. Find me at profitcoach.ca. Matt and I would love to collaborate to help you launch, grow, or start your business, and we want to work with you. If you want to discuss working with us or be a guest on the podcast, send us an email to set it up at kawarthasmallbusinesspodcast.ca. And remember, we believe the Kawarthas can be the most thriving region in Canada for small businesses.